they followed suggests to me that Jesus probably did exist, but I believe he was pretty well undercover. I think he would have disappeared here. You know, he might have wandered off to Homa and we'd have never seen him, you know, because, heck, we're not going to Homa. But, you know, they're...
The Homa version. Here's one more.
But I believe that he occasionally came to Jerusalem early in his life. I also believe that he was gone for quite some time. And there is a reference in the four Gospels, the extant Gospels, that Jesus and family fled to Egypt. And I think that there's also evidence of a more Eastern reference in much of the readings that I have of Jesus. For example, I would like to share one thing from the Gospel of Thomas. And I'm comparing this to two other sources because you cannot tell the difference. Look and it can't be seen, listen and it can't be heard, reach and it can't be grasped. Okay, that's one source. Here's another one. I will give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no hand has touched, what has not arisen in the human heart. Yeah. That's the second one. Now one more. You cannot describe it, you cannot picture it, you cannot admire it, you cannot sense it. It is your true self. It has nowhere to hide. When the world is destroyed, it will not be destroyed. Now, which one of these is Jesus, which one is Lao Tzu, and which one is Buddhist?
But my question
because
is...
they're the three same message.
Right.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I'm not sure I understand the message. If something you can't see, you can't hear, what is the message?
I believe it's a message of personal spiritual growth. I think as I read into the book of Thomas, is that real spiritual development happens at a very mystical level. In a way that's not public, is not preaching on the street corner, is very disruptive in the temple by the public display of religion and religiosity, and that what happens in our human hearts, how we treat others, what we are able to learn internally, is the true mark of our spiritual development.
Now, do you know about the Gospel of Thomas at all?
I just wanted to react to what you just said, because the description of this spirituality which you described does not really require that you even accept the existence of Jesus.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't even require that you believe in God.
No, it doesn't.
You can have spirituality with that kind of development that you described and be what we are, secular humanists.
Look at the comparison to Lao Tzu and to the Buddhist koan, both of whom do not believe in God but believe in a spiritual pathway,
describing it almost all the same way.
And all of these read about the same way. This is the one that Jesus said, "I will give you what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no hand has touched, what has not arisen in the human heart." That came from Jesus.
Okay, but we could get what you described without receiving it from Jesus.
Exactly.
Now, let me just ask this, because especially in this country, which is highly populated by Christians, how would what you have discussed here today about, some questions about the story, how should that affect present-day Christians in this country?
Well, one thing, they're not even going to be listening to this presentation. I don't mean just what we're doing, but to this whole idea. They're not even going to deal with it. Because as soon as Christians, traditional Christians, virtual Christians, literal Christians, start running into the contradictions that exist in the New Testament, and there are plenty of them, they just kind of back away and forget about the whole thing and just go back into fundamentalism,
But they are educated, intelligent people.
Some are, and some do deal with it.
Probably most of them are.
I don't know. Well,
there is a degree in Christianity of follow the pathway.
Yeah.
And many ministers direct the pathway that their congregation is to follow.
True.
Many creeds direct that pathway, and many creeds were developed in order to mark out that pathway for future generations. All of which is not the same thing as the message that Jesus came with. Watch out for what these Pharisees are saying.
Yeah.
Watch out for what these Sadducees are saying. Watch out for what you hear, both from the Holy Universal Church and from those reformational outcroppings that we have seen today.
The 2,000.
But both of which I suspect Jesus would say, as I knew a professor once of religion who said, if Jesus was to walk down this streets of this town, I'm talking a pretty conservative Midwestern town, I wasn't talking about New Orleans, he would shake his head. He would just be appalled.
Well, let me just...
I want to summarize here something.
Okay, you just have a minute or so.
Most of these type of Christians you're talking about don't even recognize that Jesus was a Jew. It surprised them to find out that Jesus was a Jew. This sounds kind of strange.
I thought that was generally understood.
Well, it was generally understood, but the paintings in the Middle Ages show Jesus as being like a Nordic, from Norway or something.
Well,
and the Jews that are surrounding him all have hooked noses. I mean, they have this separation between Jews.
What's the point you want to make?
The point I want to make is that this is not a question to be dealing with, to worry about what traditional Christians are going to do with it. It's just beside the point.
Why is it not a question?
It's up to them. It's up to them as in their own spiritual growth.
But we're all living in this same civilization, and
that's true.
It's important to know how other people are being affected and what kind of lives
maybe
they're
so.
living.
They might be affected by not listening to you. That's how they're affected.
Well, listen, Jim, when you were talking about the congregation pretty much follows their minister. You are a minister, and you have a congregation, and your card says, among other things, that you promote justice, equity, compassion in human relations, and a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Is that what the folks in your church, are they also seeking truth and meaning?
Yes. Yes,
some of them.
I think many of them.
I know one that doesn't.
Some are quite a bit more social,
okay.
and appreciating the companionship of the people in the
people, Harry.
But I suspect the people at Jim's church are in many ways different from the ones who may be going to other mainstream churches.
And the quotations that I read earlier came from someone who's a postdoctoral student who has joined our church.
Okay,
who gave me these quotations, Mr. Mark Maxson. Dr. Mark Maxson.
Very good. This has been an interesting discussion. I'm not sure exactly what, how we would sum it up, but we are approaching the end of our program.
That old saying about the Buddha, meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. You ever heard that?
No.
Buddha saying.
Because
nobody is the Buddha. The Buddha.